What's a poor person life hack you still use even if you're no longer broke? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. Adding lots of extra ingredients, like chopped vegetables and canned tomatoes, to hamburger helper to make more of it. Answer: I do this too. It also adds some nutrients that wouldn't otherwise be in there. Also, you don't actually need to buy the hamburger helper. Just brown some ground beef with finely chopped veg, add a can of diced tomatoes or some salsa, and some seasonings of your choice. Water, pasta. Cover and simmer. You can change up the seasonings, veg, or pasta type, and it's like making entirely different meals. Story 2. I like to use bars of soap, and putting the little piece of the old bar onto the new bar is mandatory. Story 3. When I couldn't afford meat, I used tinned brown lentils as a minced meat substitute in pasta sauce lasagna sauce. I can now afford minced meat, but add a tin of brown lentils in to extend the amount. I like the taste too. Story 4. I check thrift stores and Facebook Marketplace for anything before I buy it new. About the only things I truly buy new are socks and underwear. Answer: I just started using Facebook Marketplace about a year ago. I agree with you. I'm hooked and astounded that you can buy nearly anything you need. I get all of my shoes, winter coats, some clothes, as well as kitchen items, furniture and household decor, rugs, curtains. Most are 75% off retail. I decided to repaint all rooms on our second floor. Am slowly gathering cheap paint. It'll save hundreds on paint. Am sure you found many treasures too. Story 5. I do a best before night. Whatever is up to date, I eat it. You should try coleslaw and sausages with bread and carrot. Answer: love this. Great idea. I more or less do this. To be a bit nitpicky for others, Best By is not the same as expires by. Only a handful of things have expiration dates. Only thing that I can think of, offhand, is medication. And that's because it's highly regulated and tested to X time after manufacturing date. Efficacy and how dangerous is beyond that has yet to be determined. But there have been studies by the U.S. military on that. Search if you want to go into a rabbit hole. TLDR, Best By doesn't mean expire. Sniff if to know if bad. Story 6. I still buy gently used secondhand clothes, accessories, and furniture where possible. I love thrifting and strongly prefer vintage productions. They're often cheaper with higher quality fabrications. That would be 3 to 5x the cost today. Story 7. Save all of your vegetable scraps. All the things you cut off of your vegetables when prepping food, freeze them. You can use them all later to create your own vegetable stock or other things like chicken stock. Just be sure to wash them well. Save your scraps of even meat like chicken bones. All the stuff you don't like the look of still has good flavor. I know the ends of onions look a little iffy, but you aren't eating them in stock. You're just extracting all the flavor from them. By the time they're finished cooking down, they're going to be basically mush anyways. Homemade stock is so much better for you than store-bought and will save you a lot of money. Likewise, some people will probably pay you for good homemade stock if you feel like selling it. Answer: take it even further and use scraps to grow more food. Pineapples will grow new plants if you remove and plant the top. You can stick green onions in water after cutting them, and they will grow back several times even. This works for celery, lettuce, and bok choy too. Use old potatoes to grow more. Ginger can be planted much like a potato. You can harvest seeds from tomatoes, peppers, squashes, etc. Growing your own fresh herbs and spices is cheaper whether you buy dried or fresh, and you'll always have fresh seasoning, which beats dried every single time. Produce is expensive, and you can have a steady supply that won't spoil until you harvest it. Story 8. Honestly, I'm still broke, but a good hack for food is learning to make meals that last all week and freeze well. If you don't have a lot of time to cook, make weekly soups. Secondly, it's a little cheaper to buy 1 pound of hamburger and 1 pound of sausage. Mix the two. Sausage is usually cheaper than beef, so you'll save a little money when cooking and come out with way tastier food because sausage gives your dinner's meat a better bite. Story 9. Buy food in bulk to limit grocery trips. Meal plan by eating the expirables like bread, eggs, veggies, fruit, and milk first. Then gradually work my way into the frozen foods and cabinet foods. Rinse and repeat. Prevents meal burnout since it's a pattern of variety, and I do much less grocery trips due to stuff expiring. Story 10. Me and my wife drive 20-year-old cars. We could buy new cars cash, but the old ones still run fine. Story 11. Learn to freeze and thaw food and buy as much or your groceries from Costco as possible. In my opinion, if you learn how to use that volume, you pay about $50 versus the normal store. Answer: I freeze bread. It thaws out in minutes. Literally can't get through a loaf otherwise. Also like to cook some jasmine rice and make 2-3 runny eggs to put on top with hot sauce. Sriracha is stupid expensive now, so I just get a generic hot sauce. But it's vinegar-based. Need to find my El Yuca and green habanero sauce. It's super cheap and not vinegar tasting. Story 12. Free entertainment. Beach, hike, handing out in a third space, general involvement in local community, and having an awareness of free events which are super common. Story 13. Buying secondhand. Cheaper, usually better quality, less waste, and no excess packaging. Plus, it's usually already assembled. Story 14. I keep canned beans, a bag of rice, oil, onion powder, and garlic powder because this way, I know I'll always have food. Story 15. My parents bought me a 1997 Commodore for my 18th. I'm 31 now and still driving the same car. If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd still be driving the same car. Probably get it resprayed though. Story 16. The mist and stack in the paint store. I'll happily keep checking until a color I love pops up. It's a fun hunt, especially if you've got an idea but aren't absolutely set on precisely one exact color. And there isn't a chance in hell I'm paying $80 for a gallon on paint. Story 17. IDK if this is a poor person life hack, but for me it's buying groceries in bulk. Also putting bread in the fridge if it's close to expiry and freeze food that can possibly spoil overnight. Answer. Putting bread in the fridge if it's close to expiry. That is a great way to make your bread go stale quickly. Your best bet is to split your loaves up so that you have out what you will eat before it goes bad and put the rest in the freezer. As long as you remember to remove the next portion of bread from the freezer so it can defrost enough for you to separate the slices before you run out of the previous portion, then you will never be eating stale bread. Story 18. I'm not really a hack, but I'm perpetually scared to spend money because despite being relatively well off, I'm scared of being broke again. Story 19. I still change my own oil, change my own brakes, do my own grocery shopping. And literally today, I spent the day building a retaining wall in my yard. Am exhausted. No better feeling than a hard day's work. Story 20. Rice, beans, garlic, olive oil, and soy sauce for days, baby. This $10 budget for a week worth of food got me through college, but I'm still doing it once in a while 10 years later. Story 21. I add water to soap and shampoo bottles when they get low. The diluted soap still works fine. Learned it from my mom. Do it out of habit now. Story 22. Fat jar in the fridge. Fat can't go in the sink and doesn't work in the trash because the bags can easily get holes in them. So I put my rendered beef pork chicken fat into a jar and use it for eggs or anything that needs some food love. Story 23. I have a plastic bag full of smaller plastic bags. The small plastic bags get used as trash bags, lunch bags, cat litter disposal bags, packing bags for shoes, etc. while going on trips and so on. Story 24. I grow my peppermint vegetables and herbs. I will never stop doing that. My setup is more expensive now and my tools cost more, but I used to do it because I was broke and I saved the food and stored it for the cold months. Now I still save the food because I get tasty stuff and variety that is not sold. Story 25. I buy block cheese and slice it or grate it as needed. So much cheaper than buying sliced cheese. Plus the shredded cheese in stores have a coating to keep it from concealing. I now can taste TGE difference. Buy cloth napkins and dish rags on clearance. I never buy paper napkins. Rarely do I buy paper towels. Story 26. Driving a 92 model year car because it still works and I like it. Using paper towels in lieu of napkins and tearing each paper towel in half because I don't really need a whole paper towel as a napkin. Story 27. Keeping my paid-off car and repairing it myself rather than buy another. 273K miles on it and just under 2,000 in repairs. If I were to have taken it into a shop for all of the repairs, that number would be closer to 12 was. Story 28. Calling my internet and cable company every 6 to 12 months telling them I'm going to cancel. That keeps me at the best price. I have saved in quite a bit amount of money for the same service over the last decade. Story 29. I live near several well-known universities. Life hack. Want free or extremely cheap and barely used furniture? Know which apartment complexes the wealthy college students live in and when they move out. Story 30. At a fast food place, I'll take a large amount of napkins for home. My grandma did it and I'll keep the family tradition going. Story 31. Reuse any plastic container for food or other storage. Butter, Cool Whip, those containers they use for the salads in the deli, all good to save. Why bother buying all those expensive glass storage containers? Story 32. Running some lines of hot glue on the areas of your shoes that get worn out quicker before a long walk or a game of basketball or pickleball, etc. will extend the life of your shoes. Epoxy works as well. Story 33. Check the floor under vending machines for dropped coins. We used to walk by the parking meters after the first snowmelt too, but now they're mostly cashless, so no one is dropping coins in the snowbanks. Story 34. Using plastic shopping bags as trash can liners. I learned later on in life that some people actually purchase plastic bag liners instead of using grocery bags. That's wild to me. Story 35. I wear my t-shirts until they are a ghost of a shirt. That's when they become the best summer t-shirts, between 10 and 15 years of regular wear. It's like not wearing a shirt at all, but you're allowed in stores. Story 36. Boxed mac and cheese without milk, only butter, butter and bread with every meal. Leftovers are like gold. Story 37. I cut my own hair with a buzz cutter. It's less about the money and much more about the convenience of getting it done quickly. Story 38. I'm still poor, so adjust this to taste. I go to the food pantry first and fill in meals with what I got from there with things I need to purchase. The no longer broke hack for this would be to buy clearance and try to build meals around it. Story 39. Do your own brakes. It's easy. Going to save 500 tomorrow on rotors pads all around. 3 hours max 500 per hour. Large vehicle. Shop who has never tried to upsell me anything passes all my cars for inspection. Quoted me $150. Parts cost me $450. Story 40. Cooking for yourself saves a lot of money. You can make better stuff than most restaurants with very little effort. Story 41. I still eat ramen noodle years after college. They are quick to fix and tasty to eat. The cheap cost is just a bonus at this point. Story 42. Researching things, then buying for life. It can be pricey, but waiting for sales for the right item to purchase something quality that lasts has saved me a lot of money over the years. And don't wait to buy things you use daily when you run out. Buy them on sale even if you have some. Toothpaste, TP, soap, etc. Oh, and cheap ramen can be dressed up easily. Well, eggs used to be cheap. Story 43. Started buying ties and books at thrift stores. Over the years, looked further and have purchased all kinds of goodies at thrift stores. Exercise camping gear, crafting items, tools, etc. Have also purchased new suits with retail tags still attached from thrift stores. Buried treasures at a year-round garage sale. So much fun too. Story 44. Take tampons from my gym. Never ever paying for them again. Orange Theory charges me enough to where I can do this guilt-free. Story 45. Buying secondhand whenever I can. Most of my wardrobe is from charity shops. Same with books, kitchen items, Christmas decorations. Also cutting up worn-out clothes to make cleaning rags. Story 46. I still stand soap and shampoo bottles upside down to get every last drop out of them. They typically last anywhere from 2 weeks to another month. Story 47. I split paper towels in half to double the lifespan of the roll. It's more about cutting waste, but paper towels are expensive either way. Story 48. I have a full-time job that pays well enough that I could live off it comfortably, but I have 2 side hustles that I maintain. If my main job ever went away, I could easily put more time into the side gigs and not immediately have to start living off my savings. Story 49. I always bring my own thermos of coffee. I buy what coffee is on sale, and I always cut it with 25 extra water. I have a warm beverage all morning, I don't get the jitters, and I pay a small fraction of what my coworkers do who stop at a coffee shop. Story 50. Doing the math to get the per gram, kilogram, or pound value of the food I'm buying, instead of justifying the price based on looks. Most store tags in Canada have either per 100 gram or kilogram value on the tag in small print. Then the law of supply and demand when combined with law of expiration dates. Supply and demand dictate quality stuff, usually a bit too much, which will expire. To cover the cost, they drop the price to make up for the total loss. Means if I'm patient and observant of what's a cheap price, I get high quality stuff like steak for 5 to 10 per pound when it can go up to 25, 50 per pound at times. Also means I never really shop with a list but settle for what I find. But I've learned to enjoy it like a game. Story 51. I still mostly only shop thrift for clothes and Aldi for food. I can't pay more for things when I know I can get it for less, even if the money isn't the issue. I also still sew up holes in our clothes until they're beyond repair. I don't throw things out if I don't absolutely have to. Story 52. Still poor, living alone, and here are some poor hacks I stick with and probably will even when I'm better off. I eat the same thing almost every day. Oats for breakfast, apples and carrots for snacks, leftovers for lunch, and roast chicken with veggies and rice for dinner. It's cheap, healthy, and nothing goes to waste. The houses around mine have citrus trees, So when they're fruiting, I collect mandarins, oranges, lemons, and limes. Haven't bought fruit in season for a while now. For laundry, I use vinegar, bicarb soda, and a few drops of lavender oil. Costs me $5.35 for about 2 weeks worth, and it works just fine. I water down hand soap, dish soap, and even toothpaste. They last heaps longer and still do the job. I stopped using shampoo and conditioner. I just use a plain bar of soap. My scalp feels less irritated, and it saves money. I walk everywhere. Grocery day gets interesting when I've got bags hanging off both arms. But it's free exercise, and I don't spend anything on transport. Haven't bought new clothes in over 2 years. I just rotate what I have and fix stuff if it rips. At night, I usually light candles instead of using lights. Saves power and gives the place a chill vibe. Planning to start a veggie and herb garden soon. Still getting things together for that one. Story 53. Don't necessarily a poor person life hack, but as a student, I used to buy store brand products, and honestly, I see it making good financial sense 20 years later. I still buy a large percentage of store brand products, and it saves. Story 54. I cut my lotion bottles and tubes in half to get every last bit. It is amazing how many more days of moisturizing you get. Story 55. Not a poor person hack per se, but cook a roast meat on a Sunday and repurpose for lunches throughout the week. Sandwiches, packet ramen, with a bit of cheese. I usually manage to get to Thursday before I run out. Story 56. Not having a car, using the bus and bicycle instead, or just walking if it's less than 5 kilometers. Saves me hundreds every month. The parking spot alone would cost $130 per month, not mentioning the fuel at 2 ohm, or insurance, or yearly inspections, or repairs, or the car itself. The car is the most taxed item there is. Story 57. I never keep a balance on a credit card unless it's an emergency, and then it's paid off as a priority. TBF, I'm still pretty poor, not broke though. Story 58. Refusing to use services like Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, etc. They are legitimately luxury services, yet people treat them as essential services. You're paying like $20, $50 more for everything, assuming you're a decent person, and tip. It's wild how many people I used to see at work complaining about how broke they are. Meanwhile, they're door-dashing Wendy's instead of packing lunch. I can afford it now, but the idea of spending like $35 ordering a pizza, I could just pick up down the street for $23 still feels offensive, unless I'm hosting a party or something. Story 59. Cheap man's carby, basically bacon bits, store-owned cream cheese. Sometimes they have nice flavored ones like garlic and herb, and pasta. Vegs can be added too. Takes 10 minutes, very tasty hot or cold, and a tiny splash of water loosens it up for the next day. Story 60. Make my own liquid laundry detergent in Dawn Power Wash. So easy and so cheap. 5 gallons and 1 gallon at a time for not even close to one-time purchase. Story 61. Vote for a left-leaning government. Even when you're not broke anymore, it's still nice that others have a safety net and don't come doing crimes into your neighborhood. Been doing this neat little trick that I inherited from my grandma for many years now, and it works really well. Story 62. The top answer being scraping toothpaste from inside the tube, and the second top being driving a nice car from 20 years ago is wild. Story 63. If I can't buy it on sale, I do without for certain things like Triscuits. I really like them for an easy, hearty snack, as a base for cheese or tuna salad, but the regular price at the local Safeway is $4.99 a box, which is crazy to me. So when there is a deal, currently with a digital coupon it is less than $2 a box, I stock up. Story 64. Don't own stuff, keep it simple. More property means more responsibility, plus it keeps your place nice and tidy. A few decorative pieces, a few plants, real or fake, and you're set. Story 65. One tea bag makes way more than one cup of tea. Cheap sewing kit to do basic clothing repairs. Use cruise control to maximize vehicle fuel efficiency. Use half the amount of washing powder as recommended and wash in cold water only. Story 66. I drive an old car and am driving it into the ground. My wife makes crazy money but also has had periods of not making money for months and months, so we save up as much as we can to ride things out. When someone is making a ton of money, it's easy to just want to buy everything. But waiting and being happy with your 2008 Outback is better for your bank account and means more vacations and adventures. And also, if shoot hits the fan, you drive a very reliable car and don't have to worry about that sort of fancy stuff. Story 67. I like tech, and every Zoom job interview always had the interviewer asked if I was a professional streamer based on all my equipment. But I used an iPhone 3GS for 13-something years, and I would still be using it if it didn't break on me. Story 68. Cars I bought new in 2006. Never again. Still in good condition, and I use it to drive when it's just me. My SO learned a lot of car maintenance, so keeps it in good running order. Now we have 3 kids and we started saving every penny after the second was born for a bigger car. Just bought a used van and paid cash. Fits our kids well, and the 2006 we use for quick errands and hope to have for our oldest when they turn 16. Story 69. Cowboy boy food is still as good as it was when I was a kid. Frank's, beans, corn, peas, whatever, mixed together. Story 70. Skipping meals. Is lunch really necessary? Now I have money, I don't really want to buy anything. I bought an expensive ring, custom made in the UK, to commemorate the passing of the love of my life, the most important part of my existence, and I just feel numb. I get no joy out of spending money. Story 71. Make a batch of rice with most meals. Makes the meal go farther and it's more filling. Rice is pretty cheap and easy to make, especially with a rice cooker. Story 72. When my shampoo soap has like 10 left, I fill it up with water and it's like a brand new diluted bottle. Story 73. I save gift cards in case I need them for things like food and gas when I don't have any money. I also pay things in advance in case I don't have money when they are due, even though that's unlikely. If I could afford to just prepay my rent for the whole year, I'd probably do that just to have the security in case I don't have the money on the first of the month, even though I can afford my rent just fine. Story 74. Don't do this regularly anymore, but when you're in a situation where there's no toilet paper or paper towels, coffee filters. Story 75. Mac and cheese with tuna and frozen peas. Used to eat a lot of it when I was young and poor. Still eat it occasionally now for a quick meal. I call it poor man's casserole. Bonus, my kids always liked it. Story 76. Cheap apple juice can be diluted 150 with water and still tastes fine. Doesn't work with any other juice. Story 77. Cycling and walking everywhere and taking public transport. Mind you, it's because I like it as well as because I think it's insane to spend $10K a year on a 2-ton gadget to drag my lazy jerk around. Story 78. If I can MacGyver a solution with bits and bobs at home, we'll do it and save probably $5, but it'll have it fixed right away. Story 79. 1. Reusing grocery bags as trash bags. 2. Reusing wide-mouth glass bottles. 3. Using coupons. 4. Keeping just 1 or 2 steaming services active at a time. 5. Freezing lunch for the week. Story 80. Still driving my 2004 Buick. The heated seats stopped working a few years back. But other than that, Story 81. In the 70s, they had salvage stores. All the canned foods were dented. My mom shopped there when my dad was laid off. Closest thing to that now is Ollie's and Big Lots. But the Big Lots are all closing, I think. Story 82. I don't go anywhere. Had no choice. When I was so broke, I was having sleep for dinner. Now I'm doing great, but loathe humanity. Story 83. When I make burgers sausage shot dogs, I use regular slices of bread instead of purpose-specific buns. I never thought of it as a poor person life hack until some people lost their goddamn minds about it. Like I tried to poison them. On the plus side, now I know to buy the fancy bread when I'm grilling for company and who not to invite. I am also eating a sausage peasant style as I type this. Story 84. It would take a huge life-changing, one-of-a-kind item type of thing to get me to pay full price for anything. Story 85. An Uber to the airport is around 30 from my house. I usually still take the train instead for $2.50 unless I'm traveling super early or late in the day. Story 86. Signing up for class action lawsuits. I don't need the $2,500 a wire that I make from this hobby. It's kind of like how my father used to get rebates for toothpaste shampoo and a million other things raising 3 kids LOL. Story 87. I buy so much stuff used. Much of it is in like new condition. In fact, if it's not food or good clothing, I always check used first. Story 88. Buying cheap makeup. It can be as good as high-end if you know what to look for and how to make it work. Story 89. I save ketchup packets from fast food and later squeeze them into my existing ketchup bottles at home. Almost empty ketchup bottles get turned upside down and emptied into new ones. Perpetual ketchup, in a way. Story 90. Using coupons, especially if they are right there in a dispenser by the product. I also use the grocery store's points app if they have it, because sometimes it also has discounts. Story 91. Grow and process my own meat and split about 4 cords of firewood a year. I saw them once as survival. I now see them as a hard-earned prestige that can only come from experience. Story 92. When I'm tempted to buy something that was not planned, I put it on hold for a couple of days and see if I still want it to. Then I have usually forgotten about it by then. Story 93. Cutting open lotion bottles to scrape the last bit? There's always like 3 more uses hiding in there. Hello. Story 94. I cut open toothpaste tubes to use the last drops that I scrubbed from the inside with my toothbrush. I put water in my empty shampoo bottles to scrounge the last few bits of suds. I reuse paper plates. I've been using an old Snapple bottle as a nightstand water cup for a week. I make around $100K a year or so. But I used to be homeless, so I still live way beyond my means. That being said, I eat out almost exclusively. Bad habit, but that's how much I dislike doing dishes. Story 95. I buy a Costco-sized tub of laundry detergent for the container. When it's out of detergent, I refill it with bargain detergent that comes in plastic bags. It cleans clothes just as well as more expensive detergents, but for a fraction of the cost. Story 96. Checking secondary market before buying new. If possible, plan buying new for a sale. Meal planning. Buying last day items at grocery store with discounts and freezing them. Story 97. As a European goth lady, I'm still kind of broke. But if I wasn't, then I just keep tabs when the sales actually generally are at clothing stores. I mean, if you have to buy new instead of secondhand here. At the end of every season, either summer or winter, clothing stores of any kind, be they mainstream stores or alternative stores, often offer like actual discounts to get rid of their current collection to make room for the new stuff. And that rule really goes for both for online stores and IRL clothing stores. They also often offer holiday discounts. Like my country doesn't celebrate 4th of July, for example, but it does participate in Black Friday and Halloween sales, and often offers spring and summer sales as well. So I just wait for that upcoming sale and then pick off a few items that have actually been on my wish list for a while now, like a vulture. I mean, why would I even pay full price here if there's gonna be a sale at one of my favorite stores next week? Like a €10 discount or a €15 discount is still a discount at the end of the day, lol. I mean, I could buy a whole small to medium drugstore makeup palette for that money instead. Story 98. I still care about price. Money coming in and going out are the 2 most important factors in anyone's budget. I'm not in a very good place to control money coming in at the moment, but I have a lot of control over money going out, so I really try to get the best prices for items. I don't buy the cheapest iteration of said item, but I try to get the very best deal I can for whatever item I'm buying. Story 99. Well, IDK if this counts, but my work serves us breakfast and lunch, so I eat there free, and then my parents insist on me coming over for dinner every night, so I rarely have to cook for myself, which is why I barely have any food in my fridge and cupboards, lol. Story 100. Sometimes the tastiest food is the simplest. Spaghetti with tomato sauce, rice with chicken and veggies, homemade pizza with the pre-made dough, meatloaf. Story 101. When I've finished filling the car with petrol, I still shake the ever-loving piss out of that mofoing nozzle to get every single last drop out before I take it out and put it back. Story 102. I started cutting my own hair when I was studying, and now I'm actually pretty decent at it. Even though I can afford going to get a fresh fade every 2 weeks now, I still prefer doing it myself. Story 103. Make yogurt and mayo. So easy and tasty and quick, keep chooks. We have enough to sell enough eggs to pay for chook food, and also feed them food scraps. The eggs are better. Grow a garden is pretty easy after doing it for a few years, and the taste and quality is great, and I enjoy it. I also butcher our meat, mainly sheep. General preserving. We have lots of fruit trees and excess vegetables, so jams, sauces, chutneys, and pickling stuff. Nearly always cook at home. The internet gives access to every recipe you can imagine. Make adult beverage. Beer, cider, and fruit wine. Interesting hobby and really cheap. Buy in bulk if something is cheap. Plan meals for the week based on what we have in the freezer and garden, and then make a list for grocery shopping. Always make lunch and take my own tea coffee. Bake bread. Run dishwasher and clothes washer overnight when electricity tariff is lower. Visit secondhand stores. Story 104. Tactics remain from college days when we didn't have money. I think of creative dishes that I can throw expired or almost expired shootin' I found in the fridge. My wife is a champion in ignoring ingredients she doesn't like or are too much work when she is cooking. I am the king of hiding ingredients in dishes. When she finished her meal, I disclosed what was in it and how much it was expired or how much I had to cut off from a half-rotten zucchini. Never became ill. Expiry dates are very, very conservative. If it smells and looks good, you are going to be fine. Story 105. If I'm out and about and fancy something to eat, I just remember you have food at home. You just have to make it. So I've saved 5 several times a week. It's amazing how much money you save when you worry less about convenience. Story 106. Boiling the kettle in the morning, pouring the water into thermos and having tea for the rest of the day without continuing to boil more water than I need. Doesn't save much, but I've been doing this for over a decade. Story 107. Check unit prices in supermarkets. Don't just go by the total price. Often the bargains are more expensive when you compare the unit prices. Only takes a few extra minutes, but can save heaps. Story 108. Cut bathing soap into 2 before using them. The collective lifetime of both pieces is much more than if I had used it as a single piece. Save the old dish washing liquid and hand wash liquid bottles. When I open a new bottle, I pour half of it into the new bottle and fill the rest with water. I get 2 bottles for the price of 1, and I actually like it when it is a bit diluted and not very thick. While living in an apartment building, always asking my neighbor whether he is willing to share his Wi-Fi, and I would be willing to split the cost. Use public transport whenever possible. Avoid eating out unless on occasion. Cook by yourself. The savings is beyond imagination. Do not try to win respect by appearances. It is enough that your banker and stockbroker respect you. If you are worth 1 million, your wife should believe your net worth is 730K, your children that it is 500K, your relatives and neighbors that it is, and so on. Story 109. I wear the same clothes every day. Of course I change my underwear and undershirt, but my button-down shirt and pants are the same every day for a week. Next week I wear a different shirt, same pants. All gets washed on weekends or more if I sweat. But I literally only own 1 pair of pants and 2 shirts for work. Heck, I have more gym clothes than work clothes. Story 110. Never throw out leftovers. I will eat the same thing 4 days in a row and structure my menu around eating things that may go bad, even though I don't particularly want them. I absolutely abhor throwing any kind of food out. Story 111. Still drive my 30-year-old truck, 310 miles and maintain it myself, just like when I was a poor kid. Story 112. On payday, I used to take out 10 from the cash point and put in my wallet. Any excess goes in a jar. When I lived on my own, it was my emergency fund for the end of the month, so I knew I could eat. Surprising how far you can stretch a tenner. We're talking early 2000s, so obviously went further than it does now. Edit typo. Story 113. Buying basically everything secondhand. My home is filled with beautiful, high-quality vintage furniture and decor, and I love it. If you're patient, you can often find incredible pieces for less than you'd pay for IKEA junk. Story 114. Buy meat in bulk and when it's temporarily cheaper. It's ridiculous how expensive small parts of meat is. 300 Gruyere minced beef costs €5, while 1 quart of minced beef costs €12. Story 115. Using a veggie chopper before my veggies go bad and freezing them. When I need some, I lay them out to drain excess water. My mom is from Vietnam. She taught me to waste literally nothing. Plus, it's super convenient to have chopped bell peppers, onions, cucumbers, don't freeze those, etc. for stir fries and salads. I never realized how long chopping up ingredients took until I meal prepped. Also, not to mention how much I saved. You can even make spiral veggie noodles with those things. Story 116. I eat all my leftovers. I dislike to waste food. I may not eat all of my meal, but darn sure I will over several days, or failing that, it will go in the freezer to be reheated later. Story 117. If we aren't going to be able to eat leftovers, even if just a small portion, I freeze them for later. I also make breadcrumbs from stale bread. Story 118. The public library. Movie? Borrow it. Baking pan for that recipe you want to try? Borrow it. Obviously books. And for me, audiobooks. And depending on the library, so much more. Story 119. Cooking at home and public transportation as the main form of transportation when available. Also, making exercise my hobby as opposed to going places. It honestly keeps me saner. I'm getting back to cooking as a big one, though. I'm a better cook than most of the foods I get in mid-tier restaurants, and it's significantly cheaper. Plus, it's more fun to do it at home and find a deal on housing. It'll be the biggest budget item. It basically makes or breaks my expenses. Story 120. Shopping the sales for groceries. I look at the extreme sales in the grocery flyer, the lost leaders, and that is what I eat for the week. Story 121. I cook almost all of my own meals and always have leftovers for another meal or 3. When I started going this, when I commuted to NYC for work, I was saving about $300 a month just on the cost of lunch. Story 122. Pasta, butter, and parmesan. Add whatever you like. Rice is another thing to do. Different herbs and spices will change it. Story 123. Do shoot yourself. If you need to fix your car, house, or whatever, learn to do it yourself. These days with YouTube, you can find just about anything. I had to learn pre-YouTube how to do things. Even today, I still use YouTube to learn to do things. Are you going to fudge up? Yep. Will you learn from it? Hopefully. When you learn how to do said things, will you save money? Hell yes. For 35 years, I have done my own automotive work. It has easily saved me tens of thousands of dollars. I also do my own carpentry construction. Last year, I built a 40x48 garage and saved at least 25 grand in labor. Story 124. Cut the mold off. Cut the container open. Coupon always. Meal plan. Cook at home. Rice and beans? Nah. Story 125. Reusing toilet paper. The toilet paper lobbyists are lying to you. Edit. Come on, people. This was obviously a joke. Whatever. Down, vote away. Story 126. Reusing plastic bags. I have a bag full of plastic shopping bags. I haven't bought Ziploc bags in at least 2 years. Maybe 5. Reusing plastic containers as Tupperware. Story 127. Buy my clothes at Walmart. I don't go anywhere fancy. Why spend a lot of money on clothes? I do buy quality shoes, though. Story 128. I can never spend money on myself. I'm not rich, but I'm not poor. I have a scarcity mindset, and I just can't get out of it. Story 129. I still eat rice and beans. I buy the 99-cent a pound chicken. Pinwheels that still taste great. Cheap beer. I drive a 03 diesel VW, ride my bike to the local store. I am 72, no debt, reuse. Bags tap water, grow a lot of flowers and vegetables from seed. Story 130. A mantra I learned from my late granddad, who was a farmer. Never throw away anything that can be fixed. He also would build things rather than purchasing them wherever possible, but I don't have his talent for making things. Story 131. Buying things on sale that I'd buy anyways, such as using a digital coupons, doing my own car maintenance, almost never ordering food delivery, maybe twice a year when they have a big promotion, not eating out more than 2x a week. Story 132. I get a lot of secondhand clothes for my kid. He's not really into clothes and doesn't care what he wears. And the parents in my neighborhood give away so much great clothing. I wait to make sure no one else takes it. Then if it hasn't been claimed, I take it. I also gift all his stuff when we are done. Story 133. 1 meal a day. I know there's a healthy way of going about it, and it's part of a whole lifestyle, but I don't follow any of that. I'll have a giant bowl of leftover spaghetti at like 3 p.m. and be good on that till tomorrow. Story 134. Not wasting shoot. I eat all the leftovers throughout the week. Wear my clothes and ESP shoes until they fall apart. Make cheap staples foods because I like them. Story 135. Beans and rice, dried, are cheap as hell to make. Good for you, and feels like a complete meal. If you can afford a veg or meat, it's way better, but is totally optional. Story 136. I drive with my AC off the last few miles home, so by the time I get home, the 82 degrees, I keep my home AC, it feels cool. Story 137. Very hard to just drop habits of a lifetime of thrift, even if they aren't really needed any longer. Bargain shopping, repair, reuse, repurpose. Story 138. For the last 5 years or so, I've been oscillating between comfortable and in debt, thankfully mostly in debt to my family, but still, and found out there's some supermarket brand stuff that, although cheaper, the quality isn't that inferior to big brand equivalents. Story 139. Reusing disposable coffee cups until they leak. I always lose the big plastic car cups. Also mixing 2 milk with chocolate milk. It's too sweet anyway. Story 140. Many years ago, I enrolled in a marketing course and had to purchase a marketing textbook, which I found on the school's student resale platform for $30. Original one was over $80. A few days later, I decided to quit the course and sold the marketing book for $50. Although I didn't complete the course, I made a $20 profit from it. Story 141. No debt except mortgages, which, where I am, I get a nice tax refund because they're over rental properties. Still have my car from 2012. Use every single fresh item in fridge. Nothing goes to waste. Pack lunches, meal prepping, bulk buying shampoo, conditioner, dish soap, laundry detergent, etc. Bulk buy stuff I'll always need when on special egg. Toothpaste. I have long hair, so I trim the ends myself. Don't color or highlight my hair. I don't buy brand clothing. Do lots of research before I buy something big. Egg. Appliances. I have high energy rating machines and a coffee machine that has paid for itself over the years. Story 142. Max out whatever AYC situation. Even take some Ziploc bags to store extra food to go. If the place is really busy, no one will notice anything. I also stash unbroken fruits for later consumption on vacation breakfast buffets. Story 143. Tortilla any size. Peanut butter any smoothness. Raisins, probably stick with the originals. You got a snack that costs you anywhere from I don't know to negligible. Story 144. Get a shaving razor that uses blades instead of cartridges. Cartridges are 3 each. Blades are 3 for 6 months supply, and you can keep changing them as soon as they dull. I use a cutthroat style one now. Takes getting used to, but gives such a great finish I'll never go back. Story 145. Every month we eat out the fridge. All the leftovers except sauces and syrups are consumed. It really helped in limiting the food wastage. Most of the times we don't know what we stored in the fridge until we eat it out. Story 146. Grab a couple extra Splenda Stevia packets here and there. Whenever I buy a cup of coffee or tea out, I grab some extra. Over time, it fudge adds up. I rarely have to buy my own stevia packets at the supermarket. I feel like since I'm already overpaying for that cup of coffee, at least I'm entitled to a few extra packets of sweetener. Story 147. Making credible attempts at using less electricity. My usage was so low last month that the electric company gave me an 85 credit. As much as I love driving fast, my grandmotherly Sunday-style commuting halves my gas bill. I still definitely enter the highway at highway speed and then just chill at the speed limit in one of the slower lanes. Combined with the local commercial-free jazz station, my morning commute is so darn chill. Cooking. I am starting to get pretty good. The food I make now is more fresh, healthy, and delicious than takeout or dine-in, and without a doubt cheaper. My free apartment, Comalex Gym, in the scheme of things, it sucks. I am almost always the only one in there, but it is so god-darn convenient to go home and then walk 50 FTT for cardio resistance. I grow some herbs, green onions, tomatoes, and cucumbers. I made a basil mint pesto tonight that made my girlfriend blush. Thursday Boot Company, boots, belts, and sneakers in brown and black. All 6 will last me a lifetime if you have a little left over a Vanguard SP500 traditional. I know everyone is hot on a Roth, but the traditional will keep your taxable income down if you need to be in an income bracket for some program's benefits. Story 148. Some gyms have deals with restaurants. EOS has a deal with Salad and Go. You can buy 1 salad, get 1 free. Story 149. The toothpaste clip hack. Trust me, there's so much more in that tube that I just tossed off without realizing. Story 150. A 1.5 bottle of white vinegar will completely neutralize the daily wear smell out of your clothes, just as well as expensive laundry detergent. Save the fancy stuff for actual stains. Doesn't leave a vinegar smell either. It just smells fresh and clean. Story 151. Pretend that you're poor. Gaslight yourself into believing it. Use lazy power to buy things. For e.g., I want some chips or something. I either A, suddenly become too lazy, people tell me that I am, or B, go to a place with million options and use lazy power to be unable to make choice because it's too much hard work and just leave. Because it is too much work to make a choice. Warning when you do the second one, take only a very specific amount of money you intend to spend in case you do. Story 152. Public transportation. A majority of my loved ones have bad experiences with vehicles to the point where I just prefer buses and trains. Even when I had a vehicle, public transportation was such a stress relief as opposed to being in traffic and needing to be fully road aware for idiots during rush hour. Story 153. I still plan a menu and buy my groceries once a month based on that. You end up learning how to cook, want it or not. Still saves me a lot of money to this day. Don't see a doctor unless I'm dying or broke something. Forced me to learn to understand my body and read a couple of pharmacology books. They're a drag. Hell, I still give myself stitches when I need them. I only pay for electrical work to be done because I really don't get it. What can I buy in bulk? Story 154. Work close to where you live, but then still avoid the office. When you're struggling, the fuel and car maintenance stacks up. But then the walk-ups and outsource to colleagues still finds you if you're there. Story 155. I store the lard from cooking in the fridge and reuse it whenever I need oil. Barely ever need to buy oil. Story 156. Supermarkets here markdown. Perishable food around 6 p.m. to be up to 75 off, and I sure have tried some new things that were best before that day. Story 157. Bulk out homemade meat dishes such as bolognese sauce or Mexican chicken with red lentils or beans to add protein and fiber, while meaning that less meat is needed. I keep doing this because of the health benefits of a high-fiber diet. Story 158. Driving my 22-year-old F-150. It works fine, though I think I'm gonna have to finally give in and put in a radio with backup camera screen. Story 159. I'm still broke, but regardless, I put all of my loose change in a jar. All the time. Save it for hard times. Usually I'm able to get 100 or more out of the jar when I go to exchange it at the Walmart coin machine thing, after it takes out its fee. Currently too broke to even put coins in the darn jar, but it is what it is. Story 160. Adding a bit of water and shower gel liquid soap, dishwashing liquid when it's almost finished to make it last a bit longer. Story 161. Clip coupons. Buy food that's on sale. Buy off-brand when it makes sense. Pay for gas in cash to get extra 0.10 off. Pay attention to gas prices and fill up where it's cheapest. Story 162. Live life, like you're still on benefits to help save money faster, until you have enough to start spending a little better. Do I need it, or do I just want it, and will I use it? I kind of use those when buying stuff too. I don't think that's the exact 3 things, but it's good enough to make the right decision. Story 163. I can make many different, nutritious dishes out of the same 5 ingredients. I also don't buy new food until I acutely empty out the whole fridge freezer. I also use anything so long until it breaks. Only then do I either toss it or repurpose it. Story 164. Hanging clothes to dry instead of paying for a dryer. Wreck using bounce sheets. I used to grab them from the laundry room garbage when I was poor. Turn off lights when not needed. Bring own bags to store. Pay for a VPN to get free shoot online, movies, games, software, etc. Go halves on Xbox Live account with a buddy for family sharing. Costco also makes it cheaper. Make your own food. Hand wash dishes instead of dishwasher. Use the dollar store. Buy a vacuum cleaner that doesn't require bags. Use Wi-Fi everywhere you can. Buy used instead of new. Shower instead of bath. Also, I just changed my phone plan and am now only paying $40 instead of $85. I get 4G instead of 5G and I don't care or notice. Story 165. Buy produce that's local and in season. Learn what can be frozen. Use the broccoli stalk. Piracy. Buying used. Story 166. My grandmother saves everything. Pie tins, milk bags, Canada, takeout containers, margarine containers. Nothing gets thrown out, ever. Don't even try to. She's not a hoarder by any means. But geez, Grandma, do you need that pie tin? Story 167. I wash and save clear glass bottles to use as fridge water bottles and ice cream tubs for containers. Story 168. I still preheat the oven by turning on the stove burners and opening the oven door like I'm summoning the spirit of central heating. Why pay for gas and electricity when you can risk third-degree burns and live like it's the Great Depression? It doubles as a sauna. Multitasking, baby. Story 169. Making 10 meals out of 1. 5 Costco chicken, 4 meals of chicken, then chili, soup, or bog from the broth and leftovers. Story 170. Well, I'm still poor. 1. I only buy video games on sales and not in the US or EU regions because a full price game is 25% of my salary. 2. I mostly walk and don't use public transport. I use taxi once per 3 months. 3. I rarely drink soda. I usually buy special mint syrup and dilute it with water, but not much because I have an allergy to the recommended concentration. Also, it's harmful. 4. Fruits and vegetables only from the open farmers market. 5. I mostly order clothes from countries where they are cheaper, even branded ones, because the difference compared to the country where I live is almost 2 times. And before I buy shoes, I check reviews online so I don't have to change them often. Story 171. I still compare sale ads of grocery stores and then buy the best deals at each one for my weekly or bi-weekly order. I did this when I was single and broke, and it is extra effort, but if you plan it out, lists made ahead of time from the weekly ads, and stick to your lists, not browsing in temptation, the savings add up. Story 172. Stealing from the dollar store. Honestly, I don't know if this actually counts, but bringing home like extra condiments. Extra napkins are like extra sweetener. It builds up over time. And so if you do somehow fall back into a rut, you have a little stockpile that you had accumulated. I mean, hell, I haven't bought actual napkins in years because whenever I or my roommates get takeout, they bring home extra napkins. Don't know if that all really counts. Was just the first thing that popped into my head. Story 173. When you go to McDonald's, you always want to use the app. Food is much cheaper on there. Also, I would split my order into two because you can only use one deal every 15 minutes. So what I do is order the buy one, get one double cheeseburger for 3 more 8-ish, and the wait 15 minutes and use another deal for a large fry for one. I walk out of there with 2 double cheeseburgers and a large for less than 5. Story 174. So many great tips anyone can learn and use. Having read over about 75 are repeating, I am surprised no one has mentioned open points and miles. Points and miles will change how you think and feel about spending, finance, and save you thousands a year. Story 175. It's not because I earn more that I'll buy something fundamentally overpriced. I can afford it, but it's a scam. Why would I support that? Story 176. Plan my buying. If I need something now, I get it. If I may need it later or want it, I had it in a list that I look at every now and then, especially when there's discounts. I know the original price so I can see if the discount is good, but also most of the time I don't want it as much anymore, so I remove it from the list. And of course, if I still want it, I get it on sale if the price is correct. Story 177. If there's free food, I eat it. I learned this as a broke bartender in my 20s. Finished my salary on the 10th. No worries, there's always some free food at work. Story 178. Adding spicy stuff to food makes you feel full for longer, so you can go longer between meals if you have to. Story 179. I pay attention to my clothes in general. Pajamas, underwear, dresses, pants, worthless jewelry, etc. So I have too many clothes and it's hard to sort them unless they don't fit me at all. Story 180. Reusing old margarine containers for holding leftovers or making holes in the bottom and using them as pots for houseplants, turning plastic takeaway containers into lunch containers, melting down waste soap ends that are too small to hold together on their own on the stove and pouring it into a mold to make a bar for shaving with. Using petroleum jelly as lip balm when my lips are chapped works better than anything in the store anyway. And it's cheap. Passing melted bacon grease and other rendered animal fats through cheesecloth into a washed-out can and refrigerating it for use as cooking lard. Story 181. I scrounge all those little condiment packages like you see at fast food places. Ketchup, mustard, mayo, sometime relish. Then I don't have to buy it at the store. Story 182. I bring a water bottle anywhere. Our thermostat is at 17 degrees during winter. Fleece blankets, sweaters, and thick socks are the way. I dislike paying for shopping bags, so I always have 1-2 reusable bags with me. I buy supermarket house brands instead of big brands for pasta, sugar, cereals, cooking oil, etc. Story 183. I will build things out of free materials I scavenge instead of buying them. Last thing I made was a TP holder dispenser. Story 184. I use everything until the end. Shampoo, toothpaste, everything that can be used for a few more times, haha. Story 185. Fix everything you can yourself? It's the reason I'm not broke. Had to replace hot water heater, furnace control board, a few roof shingles, car alternator, and track down all the bad electrical from a branch falling on the drop-on from the transformer to my house, a breaker, a few switches, and 2 outlets. If I had to pay someone else to fix all those things, which have all happened in 2025, the darn year is barely half over, I can't imagine how much it would have cost. I've never been more grateful that my day job for the past 8 years has been repairing electrical and electronic components, and I have an electrical license, so I have to know and follow electrical code. Story 186. Even though I'm not broke anymore, I still reheat coffee in the microwave instead of making a fresh cup, because apparently I'm too lazy or thrifty to waste a perfectly good sip. Some habits just stick around like unpaid bills. Story 187. At a party, never turn down offers of letting you take leftovers home. I was once a poor graduate student, and free food was always a welcome thing. I remember I was working in one of the computer labs, and an admin stuck her head in the door and said, "Free pizza for anyone who helps us move some office furniture." There was a stampede out the door. Story 188. You can technically make stimulant abuse profitable. Amphetamines cost money, but they also eliminate your appetite. The money you save as a result of reduced food intake will exceed the cost of your amphetamines. So basically, doing meth is a great way to save money. Story 189. If I see something I like online or at a shop, I check Temu, because most times they have the exact same thing for like 110 the price. Story 190. A couple of buckets in the shower, then used to flush the toilet. Mind you, on tank water now, so we don't pay for water, but it makes it go further. Story 191. Dilute any shampoo, dish detergent, or liquid hand soap with water in a pump bottle. Pro mode. Put the dilute dish detergent into a dollar store spray bottle. Story 192. I put less than 12K miles on my car every year. 16 less than 24K miles. The next car I buy will be for my son, and that's it. Cars are the worst money thief. Don't believe anyone who you tells they wish they could afford a house because they likely could. If only they could sacrifice their wheels and save for 5 years, but not many want to. Got a front for friends and neighbors. The show becomes more important, and half a decade sounds like forever. Until you're trapped 20 years later, barely able to replace car after car, and can just blame the economy forever. Story 193. People talking about what poor Americans eat is terrifying. Surely the cheapest, least awful way to eat is just lots of vegetables, pulses, grains, etc. Story 194. Go to theater that has free refills. Find a large popcorn bucket and drink in the trash. Wash cup out in bathroom with soap. Free popcorn and drink. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you'd like to see more content like this, you might be interested to know that I've created another channel with a similar theme, especially for those of you who enjoy what I do. I'll leave a link in the description, and I hope to see you there. Take care.